your pedal board is out of control.
Yes.
Was it your demons or your therapist that helped you make this board?
I think they would all discourage again. I don't think anyone would have encouraged me to do. Anyone that cares about me would not have encouraged this. But
this thing. So for those of you probably listening on Spotify or Apple, this thing is bigger than me.
It's 43 inches by 16 and a half. It has 33 total pedals on it.
33.
It has 3 power supplies.
Okay.
It has, it has 2 reorderable loopers. So this guy here, is this cool? Should I just run it down a little bit? Is that cool?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
So this is this Boss ES8. Mm-hmm. It's a loop switcher and a MIDI controller. So in this device, there's 8 separate loops, 6 mono loops, and 2 stereo loops. The first 6 mono loops are completely reorderable by patch. So if you want to, let's say, for instance, put a chorus in front of your delay, you can have that on one patch. And if you want to hit another patch and the delay's in front of your chorus, you can do that. So it'll reorder the pedals within the thing. I also have, so this has 8 pedals housed in it. This ends up talking to this, which is the Morningstar ML10X. It is a fully reorderable stereo loop switcher. So I have 5 stereo pedals in there. Again, order them however you want. I have my preamps, like my main amp tone in there. And what's really cool is I have my flanger, I have my chorus, my stereo flanger, my stereo chorus, my EQ, stereo EQ. We got, what else we got in there? The effects loop on my Eventide H90. So what I can do with this is put my preamp, right? So if you're running effects into the preamp, it's kind of like running straight into a head, right? And if you run them after your preamp, it's the same as running them in the effects loop of a head. So just by programming this, I can decide to run any of my effects in front of the amp or in the effects loop.
That's fucking sick, dude.
Yeah. So I can switch it. If I want that really abrasive, chorus straight in or a flanger straight in, like an Eddie Van Halen kind of thing, I can do that. And then for the next patch, if I want to go to a clean and have a chorus after, so it's really saturated and I can do that. So it just gives me a world of flexibility.
You wanted everything.
I wanted everything. Well, a big mission statement was in a world of, well, that's always
great. That's a great statement, man.
But no, it's definitely for me. Not, but it's rather than it being a protest against the all-in-ones. I think the Neural Quad Cortex is a great product. I think the Axifex is a great product. I think the Kemper is a great product. I like pedals a lot. There are reasons for liking pedals, and what I want to do, just kind of as a passion project, was build a pedal board that can do everything one of those all-in-one boxes can do, and more. So, I'm almost there. I don't have a looper on here, and I don't have an IR loader on here yet, but that will come. And then once I'm there, this board can do anything and everything another board can do.
So what's your main, even you explaining your main rhythm tone? What is that?
So the two...
Just is it just the main tone I'm playing?
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything else?
The core tone, again, I'm not sure if I mentioned this yet, but it's a full stereo pedal board. And I even made my amp setup stereo. So for the listeners or viewers that aren't familiar with my band or are familiar with my band and haven't seen us on this tour, we have for several years been a 4-piece with another guitar player. And we have recently gone back to the beginning stages of Vitriol. We've always been a 3-piece creatively in the studio, all that. And after the last guitar player we worked with, he was great. It just wasn't a great fit. It was amicable. We both felt similarly. After that, Matt and Adam and myself got together and kind of had a powwow, and we're like, they brought it up, doing a 3-piece, and I'm like, man, you know what? I haven't really thought about that in a while. I was committed to the idea for another guitar player because I knew the interplay between the two guitars was so important to our music.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have either the funds or the technological know-how to make that work, somehow create that dimension of a second guitar player.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, man, I'm much more proficient with that stuff now. I wonder what I could do. And so I started thinking about a big, giant stereo pedal board and what I could do to make the most out of that stereo field. And hopefully with the end result of actually sounding larger than we did as a 4-piece. That was my ambitious goal. I want to sound even more full as one guitar player than we did with 2. So the first step for me was effectively running 2 amps, 2 separate amps, one on stage left, one on stage right.
Yes.
So the heart core of my tone, on stage right, we have the Natos Distortion by Fortin. They're my favorite amp company. I'm fortunate enough to work with them. That thing, you get that in a Seymour Duncan Power Stage or anything like that, you're good to go, man. That thing fucking rips. For the other side, just to, some people might wonder, why not just run 2 Natos or one and run it mono into your stereo chain? Again, I just wanted the variety. I wanted that. I want to sound like 2 guitar players with their own rigs. You know what I mean? Because most of the time when you're playing in a band, your 2 guitar players aren't running the same exact gear. They're not running the same exact pedals. They're not running the same exact amps.
Sure.
So I wanted to create that sense. So on stage left, we have this Friedman pedal, which is fucking awesome. It's called the IRX. I just like high gain, modern British, like Marshall-y kind of sounds.
Yeah.
And Fortin and Friedman are both very good at that. The Friedman isn't quite as modern and high gain, but it gets plenty there, especially with a boost. This thing's cool. It has 2 12AX7 preamp tubes in it. So
there's tubes in that pedal.
There's tubes in the pedal, yeah. It has 2 channels, individual boost settings for each channel. It has IRs built into it. You can. I'm bypassing them for running just straight into a power amp, but there's even a headphone out on that thing, so you can use it as like a practice amp.
Oh, cool!
It's wild. It's such a cool pedal.
That's dope.
And it sounds sick. So that's like those are you can think of those as my 2 heads, right? And then in front of those, this is the boost that I swear by. This is called the Burning Spirit by a company called Lone Wolf Audio. They're called Void Manufacturing now, but this is a really interesting pedal, and I have a difficult time describing it to people because Joe at Lone Wolf is always innovating, and he observed something that metal guys have been doing forever, which is putting a tube screamer in front of your high gain amp, right? Mm-hmm. You crank that level, you bring the gain down, keep the kind of what I'm doing here with the screamer, max level, drive down, tone kind of at noon. Yeah. This gives you that little bit of like oomph, that compression that kind of fills in the gaps, makes it more saturated, gives you a little low end cut, all that. But the reality is that's not what these things were intended to do. That's not what an overdrive pedal was designed to do.
Oh, yeah.
So why have people been using a pedal outside of its application for 30 fucking years when no one has tried to build something specifically to do that job?
Oh, wow.
So Joe designed this pedal, and I think, I've had people actually reach out to me that have tried it and be like, oh, what am I supposed to do with it? Because it's a unique thing. It doesn't have drive in it like a overdrive would, but most metal players don't want that. They're turning the gain all the way down. All they're trying to do is give it that kind of harmonic excitement. When you turn on a tube screamer and your squeals are way squealier, you know what I mean? That's what you want. You want those gaps filled in, but you don't want to lose the dynamic. You don't want all of that low end cut off. A little bit's nice for a metal guy, a little bit of low end cut, but not fucking like to put an Ibanez tube screamer in front of a Mesa, excuse me. They were kind of Mesa because Mesas have huge ass ends on them. So the cut is actually kind of tasteful on those. But if you put them in, you put a tube screamer in front of like a JCM 800.
That is true. Yeah, it's not.
It turns into a box of bees. You know what I mean? You don't want that. Yeah. So The Burning Spirit, what it does is that provides that harmonic excitement. You get those squeals, but it doesn't add noise. It doesn't cut your low end off at all. And it has this grip knob, which if anybody's ever used the BEOD by Friedman, it has a tightness knob on it. That's its secret weapon. And it just fucking, for metal guys, those chunks, you know, like it just makes those so tight. And that's what these do. You'll notice my grip is pretty high on both of these. And when we get to fucking showing some tones, I can demonstrate them on and off. But they're subtle, but they're supposed to be subtle. Okay. You know what I mean? Like you should be getting most of the tone you're happy with from your amps, right? And then true. I just kind of think of these as like, I don't know, like it just kind of pre-masters your guitar signal or something. It just gives it more fidelity and more responsive, you know? Nice. So that's, actually, and the main,
it's fucking
this here, I know, the Mimic.
The doubler, dude.
The doubler, it plays a huge role in my live tone. That's the difference between making it sound like one guitar player playing through two amps and sounding like two guitar players.
Wow.
It's crazy. It's a very underappreciated pedal. I think it's because its application is fairly niche. Like if you're not if you're not the only guitar player in your band, it's kind of useless. You know what I mean? Like the only, it's not going to be cool with another guitar player. It does something when you're running it mono. Like if you run it mono in your rig, like maybe in the, like right in front of the amp for like a solo or something, it'll add a little bit of like dimension, but this thing really shines when you run a mono signal into it and you split it stereo out to two other things, because then it sends the main unaffected signal to one side and then the affected signal to the other side. Wow! So it really gives you these
what does
two
it sound
independent.
Like what's like a? It's like what do you hear when it's?
It's hard to describe. You know, when you're like, I would compare it to like, it's the difference between. I keep trying to find words that aren't stereo, because there's like, of course, if you have a stereo signal, it's stereo, but it still feels and sounds almost like a dual mono. You know what I mean? When you have one guitar player going, it still just kind of, even if the textures are slightly different, it just feels like the same image coming through. Okay. And when you turn that on, it completely carves out the stereo dynamic. Like it feels like it's in the center and it just explodes out on either side. But it doesn't add any kind of like, it doesn't add any color or tone. It's not like a delay. It's not, very subtle. Am I plugged in? Yeah. I can show you. Where's my thing?
Is it time to hear this thing, dude?
We can, yeah. Probably,
You just, there it is.
Oh, sweet.
It goes under your asshole.
Yeah, always. That's where I keep
That's
them,
a good
man.
place
That's
for
where I keep them.
For a pitch, dude.
Okay, so this is without the Mimic on. Right? This is with the Mimic on.
Wow.
Off.
Whoa.
On.
That's sick.
Isn't that wild?
I'm gonna kick out Mark.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding, Mark.
Sorry, Mark.
Love you, brother.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's insane. Like, it makes such a shocking difference. And
it sounds like they're two guitar players.
Right? Yeah. It's crazy. And it doesn't sound artificial at all.
Whoa, dude. Genius.
Now, wild.
It's really cool because we're obviously we're both wearing headphones, so it's going in stereo in our headphones.
Yeah.
So we could really hear it.
Yeah.
That is dope.
And think about that translated through 2 full stacks, like 30 feet away from each other on stage. So it makes a really big difference in a live setting.